All right, good morning and welcome back. Today, I was already planning to be out today, and I know we've missed some school, but I couldn't quite change plans. So I am going to have you guys watch this video. Here's the plan. You should be watching this through Delta Math. If you were watching this on YouTube or somehow on a friend's computer or some other link, go into your Chromebook, sign into Delta Math. You need to watch it through Delta Math. That is how you will get the points for the video. Okay, as you watch it, the progress bar will fill in. If you skip like 3 minutes, that chunk of the video will not show that you have completed it, and you won't get your points for that. So it's really easy. Just let it play, watch it, take notes on this front side, okay? Then tomorrow when I am back, we will finish the back side. So please try to hang on to this paper for tomorrow, so that way tomorrow we can finish up the back side. So what I need you guys to do is start by watching the video. We'll go over this, try to keep it short here, and then after I go over this, there are going to be a few practice problems you need to do related to parallelograms and specifically rhombuses, rectangles, squares, but also just parallelograms in general, and then quadrilaterals. Okay, so let's start off with a brief review. Okay, we talked about this last week. You guys did that Big Ten activity. But if we have a rhombus, what does that tell us? Okay, so right here it says it's a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. So let's quick draw that. And how can I tell that these are, so obviously I drew this by hand, so it's probably not perfect, but the way I can tell you that they're the same is by putting a little mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, all 4 are the same. You also could have labeled them. If I put a 20 beside each side, then they're all the same. Okay. Second shape today we're going to review is a rectangle. Okay, this is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. So you guys have been dealing with rectangles probably what, since you started learning shapes, so probably like 6, 7, 8 years. Okay, we know what a rectangle is, and we know by definition it has to have 4 right angles, so 90 degrees in each corner on your rectangle. Okay, your square last. A square is a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides, just like a rhombus. However, it also has 4 right angles, just like a rectangle. So that means technically, we talked about this already last week, but a square is both a rhombus and a rectangle. Now, you would never call a square a rhombus or a rectangle because a square is a square. It tells you want to use the name that gives the most information. Okay, so for example, like you have 2 names, right? Most of us have more than 2 names actually, but our first and our last name, if we say the full name, that gives more information than if we just use part of it. It's kind of along those lines, okay? So if we look here at our Venn diagram, we kind of already talked about this last week, but a square is the same as both a rhombus and a rectangle because a square has 4 congruent sides and it has 4 congruent right angles, okay? And all of these squares, rectangles, and rhombuses are examples of parallelograms, okay? And so let's go ahead and talk about these parallelograms and how we can solve. We're going to do these 4 problems, then we'll finish the backside tomorrow when I am back. So if we look here at this first one, always note if anything is given to you. So it's a rhombus, so I note that that means all the sides have to be congruent. Okay, if these sides are congruent, I can set them equal to each other. So 4x minus 5 has to equal 2x minus 17, or sorry, 2x plus 17. Okay. Now I am ready to solve, and it's an algebra problem. I'll subtract 2x from both sides. Some of you might have chose a different path. That is fine, as long as you do the algebra correctly. Add 5. We get 2x equals 22. Divide by 2, divide by 2. X is going to equal 11. Now the question is, do I need to plug it in? Well, on this particular problem, it asks for x. We know x, so we are done. If it had asked for the side length, or specifically like side BC or CD, then yes, you'd have to plug it in. But here we don't. Okay, our second question. Right here, it tells us this is a rectangle. What does that tell me? It tells me a lot of things. One, it tells me that opposite sides are congruent. It also tells me my diagonals will bisect, and they will also be congruent. But neither of those will help me here. What helps me here, right here, you see that angle, because it's degrees, we know it's an angle, and I know that angle will be 90 degrees. Okay, so I can do 7y plus 6, set that equal to 90, and now it's just algebra 1 time again. Okay, so 7y equals 84. Divide by 7, divide by 7. That means y will end up equaling 12. Once again, check, did you figure out what you needed to? And this time it asked for y, so we did figure out our answer. Okay? The third one, what does the fact that it's a square tell me? Okay? And let me quick go back and talk about the rhombus. The fact that it was a rhombus told me all four sides were the same. It also told me, I don't know if you guys remember, but it also tells us that our diagonals are perpendicular, meaning each of these is a right angle in here. That is always true on a rhombus. We talked about that last week. And for a rectangle, anytime we have a rectangle, the two diagonals are going to be congruent. They also bisect each other because any parallelogram, the diagonals bisect each other. But what I mean by that is they're congruent is if EG is 20, then that means HF is 20 also. Okay? So finally, QRST is a square. Okay, what does that tell me? I know the right angles in each corner. I also know that each side is congruent. Now what will help me here? The sides, because that's where the x is at. So I can say x plus 27 has to equal that 13 minus 6x. And once again, now it's an Algebra 1 problem. It is up to you how you attack this. I'm going to add 6x to keep my x positive, but you wouldn't have to. In the end, it doesn't keep it positive everywhere because we're going to subtract there and get 7x equals negative 14. We're going to divide and get x equals negative 2. Now right off the bat, some of you might say, how can that be possible? How can a side have a negative value? And I agree with you, our side cannot have a negative value. However, the question is, what is x? X equals negative 2. If we look here, if we would actually substitute that in right here, the side will have a length of 25 because 27 minus 2 is 25. Over here, negative 6 times negative 2 becomes plus 12. 13 plus 12 is 25. You'd get 25 for all your sides. Okay, so you can't have a negative value for the side length, but you can have a negative value for your variable. Okay, one more problem. And on this, once again, it tells us it's a rectangle. Okay, what do we know? I know that each corner is 90, so that will help me here. I also know that opposite sides are congruent. So the top is the same as the bottom, the left is the same as the right. Now I need to find x and y. So let's start with x. 2x minus 10, that is one of the angles, which we know must be 90. Okay, so 2x minus 10 equals 90. We're going to add that 10. 2x will equal 100. Divide by 2, x will equal 50, and we are done. That's all we got to do for x. Now for y, as we said, opposite sides are congruent. So 3y plus 21 equals 5y plus 11. Okay, now we subtract the 3y. We get 21 equals 2y plus 11. We subtract 11. Divide by 2. And y equals 5. All right, so that's it for today. Finish up this video as you're basically done with it, and then go ahead and practice the problems at the end here on these practice problems. Things to remember. Remember your rules about parallelograms. So we know on parallelograms opposite sides are congruent. We know opposite angles are congruent. We know consecutive angles are supplementary. If you don't remember what that is, quick Google supplementary. We know diagonals bisect each other. Okay, and we know that the opposite sides are parallel on that parallelogram. Then on a rhombus, we specifically know that the opposite sides, or all the sides are congruent. We also know that the diagonals are perpendicular. On a rectangle, we know that the diagonals are congruent and that all four angles are right angles. And then a square, both of those things are true. All right, have a great day.